the other alternative to articling is the law practice program. And they offer the English program in Ryerson, and they offer the French program in Ottawa. So the difference between the LPP and the articling is that articling, you're doing it in the same term for 10 months, versus the law practice program, you're separating the work component and the training component. So there's 4 months of training that is largely based online, and then you do a work placement, which is similar to articling, but it's shortened to 4 months as well. So the training component, it's kind of like a virtual law firm. So I know due to COVID, there's things that have changed, but when I was in the program, they had 3 weeks, various times in this term of the 4 months where you had to actually go and meet everyone at Ryerson, and you got to meet the various students, the various colleagues, professors, lecturers, other lawyers, some judges, got to actually interact with them. And you actually do, I guess, like experimental real life training where you go to court, where you do the various presentations possibly for that relate to a certain law field. And you actually get to practice the various law fields. So they introduce you to real estate, they introduce you to criminal, civil litigation. They kind of like introduce you to the major legal fields, which is nice. And you get to kind of learn just on how to actually practice before you actually go into the workplace. So they'll give you some precedent documents. They'll actually make you interact with a certain client and see how you talk to them, see how you're supposed to question them, see how you're supposed to interact with them. And you also have a basis where, because you're in a virtual law firm, you're interacting with 4 to 6 colleagues as well. So you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. You can kind of get work done faster. If you have certain team projects or individual projects, kind of be able to collaborate. And one of the great things I actually enjoyed about the law practice program is there's actual mentors. So there's legal professionals in the field that actually mentor you throughout the 4 months. And we had 2 in 2 different fields, and they were actually able to give us feedback on our various work. They were able to come into some of the meetings we had with virtual clients and see how we interacted and kind of give us feedback on what to improve on, what we did great on, and what we should change. So that's the training component. And then the work component is it's similar to articling. You kind of go through the same process, screening, interview, and you kind of get a position for the 4 months. And sometimes it leads to a position in the future, and sometimes you're required to get another job afterwards. So it's similar to articling as well, but it's just shortened to 4.
And similarly to articling, these placement positions are paid, I'm assuming?
So majority of the positions are paid, but that's your option on applying for them. So they have a various amount of positions from different areas of law, different firms, different legal clinics, different corporations, companies. So you can apply for them. Some are paid, some are not, but it's your option on whether you want to apply for those positions or not, especially the unpaid ones. So I made a choice when I applied to not apply to unpaid positions because I was broke and I needed the money. So that was a decision I made. But some people did choose unpaid positions.
Okay. And are there any requirements to register for the LPP?
It's same as articling. So you do have to have a qualifying law degree in Canadian university, or if you went to an international school, and you have to have an NCA certificate, making sure you're accredited, everything's good. So it's the same process. And when you're applying, there's actual 2 options, articling or LPP. So you just select the LPP portion. That's the only difference. And the fees are the same.
Okay.
For articling and all
that. Lastly, in terms of LPP, do you feel that employers, I guess, after you finished your placement, do you feel that employers are feel like any sort of prejudice against people who decided to go through LPP rather than the more mainstream articling path?
So personally, I didn't experience it because I was fortunate enough to get a position afterwards. But I have spoken to various people where when I was in the pilot project, like the time period where it was considered a pilot project, they did have difficulty in the beginning. But now that it's actually contracted under the LSO, sorry, it's a 5-year contract, so they're actually an alternative to articling. A lot of law firms are considering it, and a lot of law firms are looking into the fact that a lot of students come in that way. And one good thing that they do consider is they rather pay a student 4 months than 10. So that's another thing that is very beneficial for employers or principal law firms. So they're actually looking into that as well. So that is a good gateway for you to be able to interact, network, and possibly get a job through them as well.
Okay, thank you, Vinissa. That was very helpful for anyone even looking into the law practice program.